Jaquanda Parrish seemed to have it all, a glamorous lifestyle, a devoted husband, and a family that appeared picture-perfect. As a beloved influencer with millions of followers, her life was a carefully curated display of success, love, and family values. But behind the polished posts and heartfelt captions lay a web of lies and betrayal far darker than anyone could imagine. Her story would take a sinister turn, unraveling into one of Cleveland's most chilling murder cases, a case of greed, lust, and desperation that would leave an entire community in shock. How could a life so meticulously constructed hide such devastating secrets? And just how far would Jaquanda go to protect the illusion of control she had worked so hard to create? Before we dive into this shocking tale of deception and tragedy, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Inspector Stan for more gripping cases that uncover the dark truths lurking behind seemingly perfect lives. Jaquanda Parrish's social media was a shrine to perfection. Her followers saw a woman who had it all, a loving husband, two adorable children, Sharon and Michael, and a seemingly endless string of milestones that showcased her entrepreneurial spirit. She'd post snapshots of her immaculate home, candid family moments, and motivational captions about faith, hard work, and love. To her millions of fans, she wasn't just an influencer, she was a role model, a beacon of what modern success could look like. At the heart of this idealized life was 40-year-old Marcus Parrish, the husband. A devoted and hardworking accountant with a spotless reputation and an undying loyalty to his wife. Jaquanda called her greatest blessing. Marcus wasn't flashy like his wife, he preferred to stay out of the spotlight, but Jaquanda made sure he was front and center in her content. She described him as her rock, a hardworking accountant whose loyalty and quiet strength balanced her ambitious personality. But Marcus wasn't just a supporting character in Jaquanda's narrative. He became a symbol of the perfect partner, dependable, devoted, and endlessly supportive. Followers adored him as much as they did Jaquanda, often leaving comments like, "You two are #couple goals." And, "Marcus is such a good man." Together, they were the internet's golden couple, an inspiring example of love, family, and success in a world obsessed with appearances. Yet, while the surface gleamed with perfection, the cracks underneath were growing wider every day. As Jaquanda's follower count climbed, so did the pressure to maintain the image. Her glamorous lifestyle wasn't cheap, and the reality behind the scenes was far from the glossy world she portrayed online. The truth was, Jaquanda's carefully crafted life was a house of cards, one that would come crashing down with devastating consequences. Jaquanda's perfect life, the one that she so carefully curated for the world, was beginning to unravel at the edges. Beneath the sparkling facade of family vacations, fashionable outfits, and heartwarming moments with her children, there was a far darker reality. Jaquanda's lavish lifestyle had come at a cost, one she had never anticipated. Her online presence, her brand, her very identity had been built on an illusion of wealth and success, but in truth, it was a constant struggle to keep up appearances. For the last few years, her spending had far outpaced her income. What had once been a flourishing business now barely covered the bills. The mortgage on her house, the cars, the designer clothes, everything she owned, everything she flaunted on social media, was a part of an intricate web of debt. She was drowning in it, with over $100,000 owed to various lenders and even more in gambling losses. She had tried to hide it, of course. Jaquanda was a master at presenting one face to the public while concealing the chaos behind closed doors. But her mounting financial pressures were becoming impossible to ignore. Every payday felt like a fleeting moment of relief before the creditors began calling again. Her pride wouldn't let her reach out for help, her carefully crafted image couldn't allow anyone to see the truth. No, Jaquanda had built an empire, and she wasn't about to let it crumble, not without a fight. It was during this period of mounting desperation that Zay Parrish entered her life. Zay, her 21-year-old nephew, had recently moved to Cleveland after serving time for drug possession. Zay had been in and out of trouble for most of his life, and his most recent stint in prison had left him hardened and a bit wiser. He had been caught with a bag of drugs, but the time behind bars hadn't dampened his drive to succeed. He wanted to make something of himself, even if his methods weren't entirely legal. Initially, Jaquanda positioned herself as a guiding influence, offering him a place to stay and a fresh start. But their bond quickly crossed lines. Late-night conversations about struggles and regrets forged a connection that blurred familial boundaries. Zay admired Jaquanda's success and resilience, while she basked in the attention he gave her, something she felt was missing in her marriage to Marcus. One night, vulnerability and temptation gave way to something forbidden, and the two began a secret affair. The relationship, fueled by lust and rebellion, soon became about more than physical desire. Zay brought a sense of danger and excitement to Jaquanda's life, but he also offered her access to a criminal network, an avenue she hadn't previously considered in her fight to escape debt. As their relationship deepened, Jaquanda began to see Zay as more than just a lover, he was her partner in crime. She confided in him about her financial troubles and her growing resentment toward Marcus, who she saw as oblivious to her struggles. Together, they began to imagine a way out. It wasn't just about clearing her mounting debt anymore. Jaquanda realized Marcus's $300,000 life insurance policy could also fund her ongoing affair with Zay, ensuring they could live the life they dreamed of, far from Marcus and the prying eyes of the internet. Through Zay's criminal connections, Jaquanda was introduced to Tyrone Ty Bledsoe, a man infamous for his precision and ruthlessness. Ty wasn't cheap, but he was exactly what they needed to make their plan work. Zay explained that Ty was connected to several crime families around Cleveland, each with a long list of favors owed. He had contacts in every corner of the city, from the underbelly of the drug trade to the highest levels of organized crime. Together, the three began to devise a chilling scheme to stage Marcus's death as a robbery gone wrong. The cracks in Jaquanda's picture-perfect life were no longer hidden. They were expanding rapidly, threatening to destroy everything in their path. But blinded by desperation and greed, Jaquanda convinced herself she could have it all: freedom from her debt, the life she craved with Zay, and her flawless public image intact. What she didn't realize was that the house of cards she had so carefully constructed was about to collapse in ways she could never have imagined. The plan to eliminate Marcus Parrish had taken shape with chilling precision. To Jaquanda, this wasn't just an act of desperation, it was the answer to all her problems. Not only would Marcus's death wipe away her mounting gambling debts, but it would also fund her secret life with Zay. She was determined to execute the plan flawlessly and keep her glamorous persona intact. Ty Bledsoe, the hitman Jaquanda and Zay had recruited, was no amateur. Known for his ruthless efficiency and ability to evade capture, he demanded a steep price for his services. Jaquanda promised him a generous cut of the insurance payout, confident the investment would pay off once Marcus was out of the picture. Together, they devised a plan to stage the murder as a random robbery gone wrong, one that would leave no trail back to her. The setup began with Ty luring Marcus to a remote construction site on the outskirts of Cleveland. Pretending to be a stranded friend in need of assistance, Ty used a burner phone to call Marcus. He was known for his kindness and had a soft spot for helping people, especially when it comes to friends in need. Marcus didn't hesitate to come to the rescue, even on a frigid January night. He kissed Jaquanda goodbye before heading out, unaware that she had orchestrated his demise. When Marcus arrived at the desolate construction site, the ambush unfolded swiftly. The location was perfect, isolated, far from prying eyes, and completely devoid of any witnesses. The faint glow of streetlights barely illuminated the area, casting long shadows across the skeletal frames of abandoned buildings. Ty attacked him with brutal precision, ensuring there would be no chance of survival. In the aftermath, Ty scattered Marcus's belongings. A wallet, a broken phone, and loose change. The scene had to appear chaotic, random, as though Marcus had been an unlucky victim of violence. By the time he slipped away into the shadows, the scene looked exactly as planned, the tragic result of a robbery gone terribly wrong. The news of Marcus's death spread like wildfire. It sent shockwaves through the Cleveland community. Marcus was known and loved for his kind nature, quiet dedication to his family, and unwavering work ethic. To those who knew him, the senseless act of violence was incomprehensible. Meanwhile, Jaquanda stepped into her role as the grieving widow with the poise of a seasoned actress. She was the center of attention. Her social media accounts, once filled with photos of her perfect family, became a platform for emotional tributes to her late husband. Posts of black and white photos of Marcus, accompanied by tearful captions like "I can't believe you're gone. My heart is shattered," garnered thousands of likes and heartfelt comments from followers. She held press conferences, making public pleas for justice and vowing to keep Marcus's memory alive. "He didn't deserve this," she sobbed in front of cameras. "Marcus was a good man, a devoted husband and father. Whoever did this has to be caught." She began posting on social media, flooding her followers with tributes to Marcus, posting pictures of their happy family, sharing their favorite memories together. Her messages were filled with sorrow and confusion, pleading for justice, expressing her disbelief at what had happened. The hashtags came naturally: #Justice for Marcus, #Gone Too Soon, #My Heart Is Broken. Jaquanda knew the power of social media. She had built her empire on it, and now, she would use it to her advantage. Every post, every message, every tear-streaked selfie was carefully calculated to win the sympathy of her followers. The world watched as she became the face of a grieving widow, a woman who had lost everything. Her emotional displays were as raw as they were rehearsed, and the media ate it up. Her performances were so convincing that the media quickly rallied behind her, portraying her as a heartbroken wife and a symbol of resilience in the face of tragedy. Jaquanda's follower count skyrocketed as fans flooded her posts with messages of support, donations, and condolences. Some even started crowdfunding campaigns to help her cope with the loss. Yet behind the carefully staged tears and public displays of grief, Jaquanda felt an intoxicating sense of relief. With Marcus out of the way, her debts would soon be cleared, and she could finally start the life she had envisioned with Zay. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to believe that everything was going according to plan. But cracks in her performance were already beginning to form. Detectives investigating Marcus's murder found themselves puzzled by the crime scene. Something about it seemed off, too clean, too staged. And while Jaquanda's public grief was convincing, those who knew her best began to notice inconsistencies in her behavior. As Cleveland mourned Marcus Parrish, the seeds of suspicion had already been planted. It was only a matter of time before Jaquanda's web of lies began to unravel. Detective Larissa Cole was no stranger to complex cases, but something about Marcus Parrish's murder stood out immediately. A 45-year-old veteran investigator with a sharp mind and an unrelenting instinct for the truth, Larissa was quick to spot details others might have missed. The crime scene, though meant to look chaotic, felt too deliberate, like someone had gone out of their way to make it appear random. The apparent robbery raised more questions than answers. Marcus was a mild-mannered accountant with no known enemies or risky habits. Why would anyone target him, and why with such brutality? As Larissa dug deeper, she found herself drawn to Jaquanda Parrish, whose public grief seemed a little too polished. Her tearful pleas for justice played well to the media, but Larissa's trained eye caught the cracks in her facade. The first major breakthrough came when detectives reviewed surveillance footage from the weeks leading up to the murder. To their surprise, Jaquanda was seen meeting with a man later identified as Tyrone "Ty" Bledsoe in a secluded area. The footage didn't reveal the nature of their interaction, but it was enough to raise suspicion. Why would a grieving widow have secret meetings with a known criminal? Larissa's team intensified their focus on Jaquanda, digging into her financial records and social media activity. They discovered the $300,000 life insurance policy on Marcus, a sum Jaquanda had tried to claim almost immediately after his death. The timing was suspicious, and it added fuel to Larissa's growing theory that the crime wasn't a random act of violence. But it wasn't until Zaire Zay Parrish was brought in for questioning that the case truly unraveled. Initially, Zay was defensive, claiming he knew nothing about the murder. But under pressure, and overwhelmed by guilt, he broke down. In a tearful confession, Zay revealed everything: the affair, Jaquanda's mounting gambling debt, and the plan to use Marcus's life insurance payout to clear her debts and fund their new life together. He also admitted to introducing Jaquanda to Ty, detailing how the three had conspired to stage Marcus's murder as a botched robbery. Zay's confession was the key Larissa needed to crack the case wide open. Armed with his testimony in the surveillance footage, Larissa secured a warrant for Jaquanda's arrest. The dramatic moment unfolded in front of her children and a crowd of neighbors, who watched in shock as the woman they'd admired was taken away in handcuffs. Meanwhile, Ty Bledsoe, sensing the walls closing in, had gone into hiding. Confident in his ability to evade capture, he moved between safe houses and stayed off the grid. But he underestimated Larissa's persistence. Financial records uncovered during the investigation revealed payments Jaquanda had made to Ty shortly before the murder. Tracking these transactions led detectives to a rundown motel on the outskirts of Cleveland, where Ty was finally cornered. The arrest wasn't without drama. Ty initially resisted, barricading himself in his room and threatening violence. After a tense standoff, Larissa's team apprehended him, bringing an end to his short-lived attempt to escape justice. The pieces of the puzzle had fallen into place. Jaquanda's carefully curated world of glamour and family values was exposed as a facade hiding greed, betrayal, and murder. And while the Cleveland community struggled to come to terms with the dark truth, Larissa prepared to bring her airtight case to court. The once celebrated influencer's life had unraveled, and justice was now firmly in sight. The courtroom was packed from the moment the trial of Jaquanda Parrish began. The case had captivated the nation, with people eager to learn the truth behind the glamorous influencer's shocking descent into murder. Every detail was scrutinized, from her public persona as a loving wife and mother to the sordid reality of her secret affair with her nephew and her role in orchestrating Marcus's brutal death. Jaquanda's defense team attempted to paint her as a victim, claiming she had been manipulated by Zay and Ty, who had taken advantage of her mounting financial struggles and emotional vulnerabilities. But the evidence against her was damning. Zay's confession, combined with the surveillance footage of her meeting with Ty, left little room for doubt. Throughout the trial, Jaquanda maintained her innocence, her stoic demeanor at odds with the emotionally charged testimonies and shocking revelations. Her lawyer argued that Jaquanda had been coerced into the plot by Zay and Ty, who preyed on her desperation, but the jury wasn't convinced. The prosecution painted a starkly different picture: a woman driven by greed, willing to sacrifice her husband's life to fund her lavish lifestyle and keep her secret affair with Zay alive. The trial was filled with moments of high drama. Zay's testimony was pivotal, as he revealed the full extent of Jaquanda's manipulation. He spoke of her mounting gambling debts, her obsessive need for perfection, and her cold calculation in planning Marcus's murder. Zay's admission of guilt was weighed heavily by the court, but his cooperation in the investigation earned him a reduced sentence. Ty Bledsoe, who had hoped to evade capture, was not so fortunate. His defense was weak, and his cold, detached demeanor throughout the proceedings only solidified his role as the mastermind behind Marcus's murder. His ruthless execution of the crime, combined with his involvement in the larger conspiracy, led to a swift conviction. In the end, the verdicts were swift and brutal. Jaquanda was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, her carefully constructed public image shattered beyond repair. She would spend the rest of her life in a prison cell, the consequence of her greed and betrayal. Zay, despite his role in the murder plot, received a 15-year sentence for his cooperation with the authorities. While some saw this as a lenient punishment, others recognized his confession as a necessary step in bringing the truth to light. His guilt would follow him for the rest of his life, but the opportunity to start over in a few years remained his only hope for redemption. Ty Bledsoe, convicted of multiple crimes, including the brutal murder of Marcus, was sentenced to death. His fate was sealed as one of the most notorious criminals in Cleveland, his name forever linked to this chilling case. The trial had a profound impact on the public. Jaquanda, once hailed as the epitome of success and family values, was now a cautionary tale of the dangers of social media perfection and the lengths people would go to maintain the illusion of happiness. The case sparked conversations about greed, betrayal, and the dark undercurrents lurking behind carefully curated online personas. In the weeks following the trial, social media erupted with debates about Jaquanda's motivations and the shocking reality behind her picture-perfect life. Some expressed sympathy for her struggles with debt and her emotional turmoil, while others condemned her for the ruthless way she had manipulated those closest to her. The media's portrayal of Jaquanda as a grieving widow transformed into one of the most talked-about tragedies of the year. Her downfall was a bitter reminder that beneath the polished surfaces of social media, where families are often presented as flawless, lies the potential for darkness, hidden secrets, lies, and unimaginable betrayals that can unravel in the blink of an eye. Jaquanda's story had been a testament to the power of appearances, and it had ultimately cost her everything. As the dust settled and the legal proceedings came to a close, the case of Jaquanda Parrish served as a chilling reminder: the pursuit of perfection and the deadly consequences of betrayal would forever be etched in the public's memory. The once celebrated influencer, who had built a career on crafting an ideal life, was now a symbol of what can happen when greed and lies are allowed to run unchecked. Jaquanda Parrish's story is a haunting reminder of how desperation and greed can destroy even the most carefully constructed lives. What appeared to be the ultimate success, a loving wife, a devoted husband, and a picture-perfect family, was in reality a web of lies, manipulation, and ruthless ambition. Jaquanda's actions left a trail of heartbreak, not only for her husband, Marcus, whose life was tragically cut short, but for her children and the community that had once admired her. The betrayal of trust was unimaginable, and the consequences were catastrophic. In the end, Marcus paid the ultimate price for Jaquanda's insatiable hunger for perfection. His life was taken from him in the most brutal way, all so Jaquanda could try to escape her mounting debts and continue her secret affair. It's a tragic reminder that the pursuit of an idealized image can drive people to make choices that destroy everything they hold dear. But could Marcus's death have been prevented? Were there warning signs that could have been recognized? And perhaps the more unsettling question: how often do we look at the perfect images online and fail to consider the hidden truths behind them? Jaquanda's story challenges us to question the narratives we're presented with and to dig deeper into the complexities that lie beneath the surface. If this case shocked you, like and subscribe to Inspector Stan for more tales that uncover the darkest secrets behind seemingly perfect lives. Stay tuned for more stories that reveal the chilling truths lurking beneath the surface of the lives we think we know.